wanna get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim.
Hello, and welcome to the Rojan Kim Cast. It's me, Rojan Kim. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday, August 2020. Do you know where your kids are? Do you have kids? I don't. Thank God. Imagine having kids during this time. Some of you do. You're trapped with them, aren't you? Huh? Bet you wish teachers are paid a lot more now, huh? Bet you wish. I bet a lot of these, there's a lot of people being like, how could you let kids go back to school during the pandemic? How it's dangerous, and the teachers have to sign a will or a waiver or whatever the fuck, how could you? But I bet you the parents are like, send them to school. Like, I'll take the risk. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, send them, please. Please send them, or else I'll kill them. I'll murder my own children. So please let them go. And okay, they'll get sick or I'll get sick. I don't care. That's I feel like that's like a lot of the country. Unfortunately, politics has made it so that you have to have certain opinions about certain things, and you can't, it's not the correct way of thinking to, the right way to think is like, okay, if the kids all go, they should all wear masks, or they should be shamed for not wearing masks. There should be, there's that story about some kid in Georgia took a picture and started doxing all the kids without masks or whatever. And then, that kid was suspended. Then people are like, no, that's what we should do. Yeah, that's what we should do. We should just rat on everybody, right? That's what we want. And people are just like, people want China. That's what they want. People, for all our saber rattling and people being like, China is ruining everything. Blame China for everything. China started this and that. That's what people want that. People want the government to just come in. As long as it's stuff that you want them to do, they want the government to come and do it, right? Like in LA, Mayor Garcetti has announced that big parties, the city is going to shut down their water and power, and a big reason the city is going to do that is because the police won't do anything, right? Because they're not actually breaking the law. You can still gather, you can still have assemblies. You can't really make laws banning assemblies, and there's no law being broken, so the cops won't do anything. So, which is, right? I mean, if we're in a fascist state, if we're in some kind of proto-fascist state, like, why aren't the cops doing it? Why wouldn't the cops be going in there and just beating everybody down and sending them all to jail and rounding up all their stuff and whatever the search and how they seize property, asset forfeiture or whatever, like they do that with drugs? Why wouldn't they just start doing that with people who gather, right? Like if you gather against the law, the cops can just come, arrest everybody and seize everyone's property. Like, why don't they just do that? Why aren't we doing that? Huh? Some fascists. We're not fascists. Honestly, I would argue that we kind of are, but this is not the podcast. It's not what I wanted to talk about this podcast. This was about the state, the state power. No, come on. Like on some level, it's just like life has to go on, Yes, look, people are going to die. People are going to die. I don't know what to tell you. People die. Look, do you know how many people die from car crashes? Should we stop those? Should we try? And, people are like, it's not the same. This is not the same. Nothing is the same. Nothing is the same. It doesn't matter. People are dying in droves everywhere on the street, just right out here. There's atrocities being committed in a tent on Hollywood Boulevard right now. You know what I mean? That's like less than a mile away. And I'm supposed to care about the 160,000 people who have died so far from coronavirus. I mean, it's wrong, right? It's wrong to not care, to be like, I don't really care about these. And not to say, look, if you knew somebody who died of it, I would care about that. I'm not saying I don't care about anybody. I care about, it's just like, what are we supposed to do with all these facts and figures in our head, right? What are we supposed to do with all that? What are we supposed to do, huh? What's the answer there? There's no real answer. Like, it just seems that we're being fed information. We're being fed things, right? We're being fed things, and then we're also being told the proper ways to behave, the right way to act, this and this and that. Like a big thing on Twitter is saying normalize things. Normalize this, normalize non-gender, non-binary behavior. I don't know what it's just like, it's kind of just, I just don't understand why that's the value. this is a weird thing. Like Twitter is sort of an insight into the sort of sporadic nature of pop culture, right? Like it's because it's so instantaneous, and it's just people just talking out into the void, and it's just like, so it's not necessarily the most I don't know, nuanced form of communication, right? But I've noticed on Twitter, it's like you got a lot of people who are just like kind of like smash the state, or all cops are bad, or defund the police, or whatever, whatever the thing to say is, they'll say it. But then on the other hand, they'll be like, God, I want a writing job so bad. I want to be a director or a writer. They want to be in the industry really badly. And then it's like, hey, everybody, I got my first writing job. Yeah, it's the same people who are like, smash the system. They're like, I got my first writing job. Now you are the system. So that's really all it seems to be. And of course, Twitter, my particular feed is probably slanted heavily toward entertainment, comedy and some politics and news and stuff. So that's why I'm seeing that stuff. So that's not to say that that's reality. That's not reality. That's Twitter reality, twitality. And twitality is not the totality of reality. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's just but it's a glimpse. And it shows me that the people who are the first to jump down your throat about not wearing a mask, or jump down your throat about being racist or not racist, anti-racist enough, or whatever, because of your silence is violence or whatever, those people who condemn you are the first ones to want a job in the industry, to be part of the status quo, to be part of the gatekeepers, to be part of the elite, right? To be part of that. To them, it's just like that club they can't get into. And once they're in it, though, they're like, okay, I was just bullshitting about this all being bad. This is great. I love being in this club. I love it. I love that. It's just like people who weren't picked, like I wasn't picked first for kickball. I was usually picked last. Okay. I was not a very athletic kid. I was a little fatty kid. And, I didn't want to destroy kickball. I didn't want to destroy, you know what I mean? I didn't want to like tear down the foundations of kickball and make sure no one could ever play it ever again. And then institute a new system of picking teams where it wasn't based on individual bias, implicit bias toward the able-bodied, or or toward the non-fat, or whatever, the athletically privileged, or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, you throw me in a fucking a kickball round with a bunch of 8-year-olds, I'll fucking smoke those 8-year-olds now. You know what I'm saying? I'll fucking demolish those. I'll fucking, to the point where they'd be like, you better go home, mister. This is, you know what I mean? Like, this is not even, there's like nothing sexual about what's going on here. It's not like pedophilia shit at all. It's like, you are seriously hurting these children with the force of your kicks. Like, you're kicking the ball right in their faces. It's like not even creepy. It's honestly violent. It's harmful. The children, you're hurting the kids. You're hurting the kids. And that's how you build character. Okay. Not by demolishing the things that don't accept you. You fucking, you harbor resentments for years and years, and until you make something of it, like a poem, or I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. You just get over it, right? Everybody's got to just get over stuff. It's fine, or just get out, fly the coop, like Joe Rogan's doing. Joe Rogan's flying the coop. He's leaving. I talked about this last time. I had a twinge of guilt. Okay, I'll admit it. I had a twinge of guilt about telling people to leave LA. Like, get out of here, get out of my town. But it's all, of course, for humor's sake. I don't have any allegiance to a geographic area. I was born in DC. I was raised in LA from when I was 6 months old to 18. I lived in the Bay Area from like 18 to 24. If I can move to fucking, is that all right? Is that all figuring out? Am I really, I don't know. It's something like that. No, 39. I don't know. 12 years in New York. I'm 42. It doesn't matter. I'm old. I lived in a lot of places. I don't really care. I don't care about this place. If I had lived here, oh my God. If I had lived in LA this whole time, like if I had never left and I'm 42 in LA, I'd be way different. I might not even fit in this frame. I might be just huge. I might be like this. I might be just giant and, like an anti-fat shamer or whatever, like no one is allowed to use the word fat in English language anymore. No one's allowed. I would probably seek to destroy the things that I couldn't be, which was, I don't know, like a healthy body weight. I'd seek to destroy those white supremacist paradigms, the patriarchal paradigms of health. Um, normalize obesity. That's what we were going to say. All right. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do now. Anyways, Joe Rogan flying the coop. He's kind of like the canary in the coal mine, isn't he? He's like the canary in the comedy coal mine of Los Angeles. He's like kettlebell swinging, kale eating, elk shooting canary in the coal mine, right? He's like a DMT smoking, float tank using, fucking jujitsu doing, like a MMA announcing, podcast doing, canary flying the coop to Texas, right? He's going to Texas, and I think that's just I don't know. I think he knows, he smells the blood in the water. You know, he knows what's happening. He knows is it true that they're coming for him? You know, well, like I said last time, the conspiracy theory of them coming after Rogan because of the Biden thing. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of. I do think that it's more about conformity, right? This whole like I was saying about the normalize thing, normalize this, normalize that. It's about conformity, right? And if you don't conform, you're dangerous, right? You're dangerous. So Joe Rogan became dangerous because he couldn't conform. The industry had nothing on him, right? So he's flying the coop. But you know what? People seek to tear down the things they can't have. You know, like I was just saying, they say, and this is what they want. This is what they want to do, man. They want to run. They're running everybody out of town. They're running Joe Rogan out of town, Joey Diaz out of town. Fucking, I know Brian Callen's probably next. Fucking Brendan Schaub. You know, comedy giants. Like they got like all these people are leaving town, right? They're leaving town. They're finding a better place to be, which is fine, okay. But they're still coming. You know, the people who want to get vengeance for being made fun of their whole lives, vengeance for not being funny enough to get on that wall. You know, they're going to come after that wall. And you know what they're going to say? They're going to say that every name on that wall is a rapist, right? They're going to go down the list and they're just going to be like Bob Saget, Roseanne Barr, there's going to be Yakov Smirnoff, you know, everybody, Andrew Dice Clay. Like, they're going to just cancel everybody on that wall. That wall is going to become a list of offenders, right? That's going to be the struggle sessions. Everybody in that wall has to go through a struggle session. And if they're dead, we're going to dig up their body. We're going to exhume their bodies. We're going to parade them around, and we're going to just read a list of their crimes, their sex crimes, whatever, the race crimes, all the crimes that they've committed in their lives. We're going to have them come out, and we're going to force, if they're not alive, we're going to force their families, okay? We're going to force Brody Stevens' family to apologize for everything he's done in his life. Okay, we're gonna dig it all up. Okay, that's what these people want. That's what they want, right? They want to come. They want to destroy the store. That's not going to be enough to take all the names. They're going to take the names down. Let's take the names off. Take the name. They're going to turn the store into just a black box, just a square, nothing on it. No, it's not even going to be called a comedy. It's not. You can't even. Comedy is triggering, right? It's just going to be called the store. It's going to be called store. The is just called store. It's going to be called store. It's non-binary. It's neutral, right? There's no names of sex offenders to trigger anybody. There's just a empty, you know what I mean? But that's not going to be enough. It's still there. It's still just the presence of it will remind these people of the patriarchy, you know, the boot that's crushing them, the oppression, you know, and Antifa's going to come. They're going to come. They're going to throw Molotov cocktails through the front window of the Comedy Store where they usually post the potluck, like, you know, where they post the open micers. That's the potluck. You know, they post the names up. They're going to, you know, they're going to throw open the Molotov cocktails flying through the window, just fire everywhere, just the fire. The piano's on fire. The original room's on fire. It's going to spread to the main room. It's going to go underground, you know, to that bar you're not allowed in. The whole thing is just going to be going up in flames, okay? And then you're going to have the second Antifa wing come with their bulldozers, and you know, come and just bulldoze the whole thing. They're just going to demolish the whole thing, wreck it down. They're going to cheer. They're going to cheer, and they're going to dance and celebrate, and they're going to give speeches that aren't very funny because these are not very funny people, you know, and they're gonna celebrate the rise and the triumph of mediocrity, okay, over talent. They're gonna celebrate just the death of comedy in Los Angeles. Die Comedy Store. That's what these people want. You see, because they couldn't take a joke, and they couldn't make a joke. They decided to destroy jokes, all joke making, the institutions that we consider sacred, holy, whatever, just things that we look up to. Like I've always wanted, it's been a dream of mine to be passed at the store, right? If I got my name on the wall, that would be amazing, right? Like, I can't have these Antifa guys come and fucking bulldoze it down. That's not cool, man. But that's where we are. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not have the mayor just come out and say, yeah, it is your duty as a freedom-loving American to throw Molotov cocktails at the Comedy Store, right? Like Mayor Garcetti, what are you doing? What are you doing, Garcetti? Why would you do that? But that's where we're at. People are, everything's so high-pitched. Everything's so, it's to the point where it's not rational anymore, right? It's just the forever war. The forever war that we have around the world, 7 wars, right? Drones in 7 countries, wars going on in 7 countries, and many more that are covert, right? That's come here. That's what we're reaping what we sow, which is kind of like maybe what 9/11 was, but no, that was because they hated our freedom. So we went and doubled down on what we used to do, which is world empire. We doubled down on it, and now the empire, maybe it's crumbling from within, maybe, or maybe this is the dawn of a new era. Maybe it's like good stuff, maybe there's just, I don't know, maybe it's a paradise. Maybe this is where we are destined to be. This is what the forefathers wanted. This is when they signed the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They were like, one day we're going to have like 65 genders. You know what I mean? Like it's going to have like this binary gender thing has got to end one day. They even debated it in the Constitutional Convention. They're like, what about gender? And they're like, we got to table it. And they're like, no, strike that from the record. We can't have this on the record. Like, we'll talk about slavery, but we're not going to talk about this. Okay, we're gonna table this. We're gonna kick the can down the road 250 years or so. We're gonna just kick that can down and let them deal with it. All right, let them deal with it. This is what happens when reality doesn't mean anything. Nothing means anything, right? When the news, when the journalists, the people who are supposed to help us figure out what reality is through all the information that is just living in the world, when they are co-opted by the state and businesses and basically everybody but the people they're supposed to serve, how can anybody really know what reality is anymore? When the government is lying, when the journalists are lying, when everybody's lying, well, then what is real? Nothing's real. So what does it even matter? What does it even matter? Why, why should I care that they're going to come and try to tear down the store? Maybe none of it matters. Maybe let's just tear everything down. Who knows what amazing things there used to be long ago. The Library of Alexandria, right? Burned down. Who cares, right? Maybe that's just the way life is. There could be a solar flare and all this is just gone in an instant. Whatever. Why put in the effort? Is that, but I don't know. I don't know if I can truck with that, man. I don't know if I can truck with that. But I also don't know what the solution is, to being a human being nowadays, 2020, right? Everything's so crazy, politicized. Everything's like tribalized. Everything's fractured. Everything's sort of consolidating and fracturing at the same time. Giant corporations are becoming bigger. Right? Whales are getting bigger, but the fish are also getting smaller. And who knows what's going to happen? We don't know. Is the dollar going to crash? Is the gold? People are buying silver, gold, Bitcoin. People are getting away from the central banks, but then it's the central banks that control everything, so they control all that stuff too. So then, is there any escape? Is there escaping any of this? No, there isn't. There's just survival, right? Which is why I think, I think people will have a new way of communicating. I think in the future, we're going to have a mishmash of language. I call it La Chinglish, right? La Chinglish, which is a combination of Spanish, Chinese, English, that's pretty much it. It's like, hey, yo, ni hao, essay. It's sort of like a little bit, it's like kind of it's like slang. It's like, what you'd call hood slang, right? And a little bit or Southern slang or whatever, mixed with a little bit of like a little Mandarin and some Mexican Spanish. And I think that's going to be the Esperanto or whatever, that sort of mishmash language that we're all going to speak. I think it's set, but I think up until that point, when we get this new language, you're going to be people who just like can't help but like code switch. Like, I can imagine there's like people who like can't stop code switching. It's like, hey, yo, what up, dog? Hey, how you doing? Hello, hi. how you doing? Very, he said, it's very, thank you. I said, yo, I can't stop this, son. I can't stop switching. I can't stop code switch. I can't stop code switching. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't stop code switching for some reason. Please, you gotta help me. You gotta help me, dog. I don't know what's wrong. I don't even know what that is. What am I doing? All right, that's maybe not so. That sounded better on paper. That sounded better on paper, but hey, this is, again, for anybody who has any doubts as to what this is really just the ramblings of a crazy person. I'm actually inside a mental institution right now. I've committed myself voluntarily during the pandemic. It's just gotten too heavy out there, but they do let me podcast still and go on social, which is weird, which is really weird because that was the issue that brought me here in the first place. But you know what? They're professionals. They're the experts. Trust the experts, right? Trust the experts. That's what I say. You gotta trust the experts, right? That's why I don't know about conspiracy theorists. No, I trust the government, man. I trust them. There were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We just couldn't find them. They were small. They were very small. Okay, they're probably still there. Probably ran them over with a truck or something. They're so tiny. They're really tiny. Okay. Anyways, I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracies, of course, right now. Cyber Satan. There's a whole one. Alex Jones is talking about, interdimensional vampire pedophiles that suck the blood of the innocent, and that's how they power things. And then these things get really intricate, and I don't want to spend the time going into it. The reason why is because I used to kind of be into them on the surface. I used to listen to some Alex Jones, but then after a while, I realized it's just like too much of an investment. I'm just like too lazy or skeptical, or I don't know what it is. I mean, it's basically just like religion, right? It's essentially the same as religion, where you just have to buy into a narrative and you're in, and then everything kind of frames itself around that narrative. It all makes sense, and the world makes sense. There's an order to the world, right? And I think because honestly, it's because I was neglected and abandoned by my parents. That that the very sort of foundational things in my life that should have been there for me weren't there. So it's like I kind of had this cynicism. I have a built-in cynicism about, I guess, the people who are trying to tell you how things are, like this paternal sort of way of explaining the world. I just don't trust it. I don't know. I'm just like, what was in it for you? And for Alex Jones, he was obviously slinging his like male vitality supplements, like crystal clear iodine that you get only from a well in Wisconsin. And he's like, this isn't government iodine. It's just like, what? He's selling iodine. Okay. I mean, people used to sell that shit just in case of radioactive attack of some kind, or whatever, like a dirty bomb or nuclear attack or whatever. That's the kind of stuff you would. And I guess iodine is important if you don't use iodized salt for your thyroid. But I don't know. I'm assuming he made tons of money off the shit, because he had a big audience. And God bless him. Whatever. Can't knock the hustle. But that's the whole thing. I think conspiracies are essentially modern day myths, right? They're myths. Just stories. People used to be like, hey, why does the sun go across the sky? It's because Apollo has a chariot, horses, and they go across the sky and you come up with the story, and you're like, oh, okay. Because back then, otherwise, you'd be like, I don't know. Just seems just like some fiery ball in the sky. This is going across, or like the flat earthers are saying it's a small light that's fixed to a dome and it moves, and that's what it is, right? And then, of course, science tells us that no, it's actually a gaseous ball. There's like a nuclear reaction going on in space, and it's a spherical ball of energy that's essentially giving us light and all this light and life. And people are like, no, that's not it either. And honestly, who knows? Is it maybe perhaps it's the sun god Ra who was reborn from the dead, or I don't know, ancient Egyptian mythology. I was thinking about Osiris because he was reborn, but it's I don't know. But to me, I feel like conspiracy theories are just as, I guess, both bullshit and important as myths. There is some importance to myths. They kind of structured our thinking into stories of how we explain the world. There's a lot of psychology in there, a lot of things we can learn from. So that's great. But then at the same time, it's just make believe. It's also just like made up stuff. I heard about how there's a conspiracy theory about North Korea not existing. It doesn't exist, guys. Apparently, it doesn't exist. It's all a CIA, uh, just a plan by the CIA to create conflict. But it's really a fake country where they can test nukes and do a bunch of stuff. So I guess so that you know what then. That explains who kidnapped my family, right? It wasn't North Korea, it was the CIA, right? And that explains why my family is all messed up. Why my mom and dad abandoned me. It's not that they were bad parents or traumatized from the war, from the aftermath of this war, growing up in a war-torn country. It's because they were members of the CIA, guys. And that actually, to me, is very comforting. Actually, it's very much more comforting than the idea that they were just flawed people who were stuck at the age they were traumatized at, so probably children, and they had a child themselves and they couldn't really handle it responsibly and couldn't even tell that child the truth about what happened. That's how infantile they, and how they lack the emotional tools to even get through it. How could they even help their own kid get through it? Okay, so instead of that, it's actually that they work for the CIA, which is a much more comforting story. And I think that that's that explains everything, and I'm glad. Honestly, I'm glad that I know the truth now and I can move on. Okay. I don't need to harbor any ill will towards my parents and be like, oh, they should have done this or that, or what kind of mom would abandon his kid, or, like any of that. It's like they were CIA, they were in the company. Okay. Country first. You know what I'm saying? They fucking, you understand what you got to do? Sometimes you got to be in the darkness, you got to do work on. This is like the dark side that Cheney talked about. This is like, you got to operate in the shadows, to fight terror and fight North Korea, or no, it doesn't exist. I don't know what a communism or whatever it is they were fighting, the evil that they were fighting. It was worth it. I am happy to have taken the hit like a good American. It all makes sense. I was born in DC. It makes sense. I'm a CIA. I'm CIA. That's the whole thing. Is I've been in the CIA this entire time. I'm a double agent or a sleeper cell in the CIA, and I'm just waking up. I've Jason Bourne. I'm awake now. My eyes are open. I'm in the CIA. I am responsible for the pandemic, and the reason I started the pandemic was so that the reason I started the pandemic was to prevent the Biden-Trump debates from occurring. Okay. I know it was a great deal of suffering and a lot of scared people. I know there's a lot of scared people, a lot of businesses are suffering. I mean, something like 1 in 5 restaurants are going to survive this. I'm sorry. Okay. But it was for the greater good. Okay. This is the CIA. The CIA needs to make sure this debate does not happen, because Biden is going to get smoked in this debate. Okay. He can barely talk in a Zoom interview. I mean, he can't even, what's the thing he just said? It doesn't matter. Just Google it. Just Google Biden gaffe, and it's pages and pages, things going all the way back. I mean, Biden gaffing is just a thing that you'd say about him back in the Obama years. And now he's going to be president. Not only that, the guy is a plagiarist, That's not even coming. I mean, his gaffes are so bad. They're not even coming up. They're not even talking about the time that he ripped off JFK in the 80s. They're not even talking about that. Okay. So we cannot let this thing happen. Okay. This debate cannot happen. All right. So yeah, listen, we have to make sure. See, we're kind of in a pickle. The thing is, the country's kind of in a pickle because of the impeachment thing. And if you think about the impeachment, the main thing about the impeachment was that Donald Trump was investigating a political opponent in Ukraine, right? So that's the narrative hinge of the impeachment. Is like, that's what he's doing. That, he's threatened to withhold the funds if the president of Ukraine didn't say he was going to investigate the Bidens, like Hunter Biden and Joe Biden or whatever, that, then none of that ever happened, but that was a threat, right? So the entire impeachment, the whole thing hinges on the fact that Joe Biden was a political opponent, because if Joe Biden was just former VP Joe Biden, if he wasn't running at all, there'd be no problem. He wouldn't be a political opponent. And then you could investigate him. You could investigate this potential corruption. Like, why is Hunter Biden making, what, 50 grand a month on an energy, that Burisma board or whatever, the board of this energy company that he has no idea about? Why is he making so much money? Is that taxpayer money? Like, what's going on? It seems corrupt, right? Is that corrupt? because Biden was supposed to be the presumptive nominee. That's why that was considered him being a political opponent. So now it's like that Seinfeld episode where George is driving Susan's parents and he's like lying about that he's like going to Montauk for some reason. And they're like, oh, we'll go along for the ride. And at some point in the middle, George realizes that he's basically like, they know I'm lying, they're not saying. And we're in this game of chicken now to see who's going to admit that they're lying, right? Or who admits that they know. So then George is like, well, we're going to Montauk. Right? And that's it. And I feel like that's where we're at. That's the moment where we're at. We're going to Montauk, everybody. We got to go all the way. Because if Biden drops out, if Biden, is not the nominee, if he's not in there, then the whole impeachment thing falls apart. Everything kind of falls apart. So we need him to be in there, but we can't let him debate because the debate is going to be bad. It's not going to be good. Just please, please, if you care about the future of this country, do not let this debate happen. We'll be clamoring. I'm of course joking. I can't even keep this up with a straight face. Like, that's the only thing I want to happen. That's the only thing I want is this debate. That's what you know what? I'm joking, but I'm buying it now. Now I think they did this whole thing, pandemic, the whole thing is just a ploy to stop the Biden-Trump debates from happening, right? They know they're going to lose. They're going to get smoked. It's going to be so bad. I mean, in fact, the downside is that Trump could lose. Trump could lose just from hitting Biden too hard, and everybody just ends up feeling sorry for the guy. They're like, leave that poor man alone. Leave that poor man alone. Can't you see he's trying his best? You know what I mean? And then he gets the sympathy vote. I mean, that could happen. The Democrats were strategists like me. If they had my brain for political strategy, then they might run this debate. They'd run this debate and let Donald Trump just trounce him, let him get beaten up just let Trump beat the shit out of Biden, just beat him up, and then they'll call it elder abuse. And then you'll have footage of just Biden's face, doing that thing, doing that dementia kind of thing, just reacting to some of the thing, Trump just being like, does he even know where he is? Does he even know where, just like, I don't know if he knows, I feel bad. Just that stuff, that's going to kill. It's going to kill because Trump is basically the only working comic out in America right now. He's the only guy doing sets in front of people, he's the only guy being heckled, he's the only guy sharp. He's the only guy he's out there sharp, Biden is doing Zoom rooms. Basically, Trump versus Biden is basically people doing comedy in front of real people versus the comedians doing Zoom rooms. That's basically what it's going to be, right? And the Zoom room side is going to want to do a Zoom room, right? It's going to want to do a Zoom room, but we need an in-person debate. It has to be in person. Just like stand-up has to be in person, this debate has to be in person for the future of this country. We have to see what they're putting up there. And if you are out there advocating to not have this debate because of the coronavirus, because of people might get sick, or because whatever, now you are fucking carrying water for the establishment DNC, and that the fucking election would be decided right then and there, and that's why you're doing it. You're disingenuous. That's right, I'm saying it. You're fucking lying. You're lying, you sons of bitches. You fucking know. You know that he can't fucking do it. He can barely have a conversation, and you know it. And is that what you think is better? You're like, this is better. People are like, yes, this is better for the country. It's better for this man, the senile old man who's a plagiarist and a lifelong corporatist, got us into the wars. Everything bad that we say is bad, he was part of. And we're going to do that instead. He fingered Tara Reid. Okay. Yeah. He literally grabbed somebody by the pussy, right? That's basically undermining the entire Me Too narrative. Me Too narrative now that's coming to tear down the store instead of taking down Joe Biden, right? And that's fine. People are like, you better vote for Biden or else you're dead to me. And it's just like, come on. That's where we're at. That's where the giant smoke screen. It's a gaslight. They're just being gaslit. The entire country is just being gaslit into thinking that no, this is a great man. He's the right man for the job. He's better than what we have now. That's what people are saying. Yeah, it's the guy who was vice president of the guy who expanded the wars, the guy who was actually behind the whole Ukraine, not only the corruption, but the right-wing Nazis taking over the democratically elected government of Ukraine. The guy who is behind that, Biden, that's who we prefer to Trump. And I get it. People don't like Trump. I get it. People don't like Trump. A lot of people think he's funny. I personally, I don't give a fuck about anything. So I've just tapped out. National politics is bullshit. It's all pretty much bullshit until the local level. You got to know who, and Garcetti is also fucking terrible. Terrible. Okay? They're all terrible. They all suck. So I don't know what that means. Honestly, I don't know what that means. Probably means to not vote for them. Just means, I just feel like you keep voting for them. What do they learn? They don't learn jack. So that's my message to you. Don't vote. Be a good citizen. Don't exercise your right. Yeah, the system is broken. Let's all participate in it. All right. That's doesn't make any sense. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to the Rojan Kimcast, watching whatever it is you're doing. Please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe on YouTube. Go hit the subscribe button. I don't know where this is playing. I'm on IGTV. Go on Spotify. All the all the podcast platforms, all of them. Go on there. Subscribe. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Thank you. Goodbye.